Previously on the Jay and Dan podcast.
There's a stench coming from where I'm sitting. I thought it was maybe I stepped in poo, but no poo.
Hashtag gas meter turd. Looks like this hitch has been on.
Again, I wanted to go a one podcast without talking about poop.
Well, it's never going to happen. Why don't you just accept it's never going to happen?
What are you talking about? It was the worst ever.
You look like you're a young Cheech Marin.
I'm not smoking the reefer.
Your tie is crooked. Don't forget your poppy. Show commence.
You're listening to the Jay and Dan podcast, brought to you by Mark's Never Iron Perfectly Pressed Shirts.
Dance.
Episode number 9. By the way, the Mark's Work Warehouse in North Oshawa by my house, they need to replace a lot of lights on their nighttime sign because right now it says Mark's. That's it.
It just says Mark that?
Because they've got the whole Mark's Work Warehouse sign, but there's like 2 letters.
Well, they're going to replace that sign because they're changing it from Mark's Work Warehouse to Mark's. So, but again, thanks for pointing out that fault of our sponsor.
I gotta say, their clothing's awesome, though.
It's great. And have you been frequenting the Marks in North Oshawa?
I wear a full-on Mark's outfit every single day since this podcast began because they gave us some clothing, and I love it.
And yoga pants? Did you buy yourself some of those?
I have not yet.
You could probably stand to do a little bit of yoga. Maybe.
Yeah, look at this.
Let's see the gut. Whoa, I wish... We're going to have to...
I've got buttons are popping out.
I'm going to take a picture of this. We're going to make this a bit more of an interactive podcast today. And I'll be posting these on @JayandDan, @JayOnright, and @TSN O'Toole. Oh, sorry, Toole's like, oh, this is good.
I've got to go back on the Cuban diet.
No, wait, stand up again. Oh, speaking of Cuban diet, I missed that song already. There it is. Wow, you look horrible.
So, yeah, I was, not to say svelte in Cuba, but I was a lot lighter.
Yeah, you have started to pack it back on. Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Christoph's awesome. He brings in these musics. My brother tweeted me before we came in to tape this. He's like...
These musics?
My brother Vince not tweeted me, he texted me. He said, is there anywhere to listen live? I said, no, we tape it, and then they put it on the podcast. He goes, I knew it. I knew it. You guys rehearse everything before. I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah, a lot of rehearsal going on here.
We literally walk in with our, speaking of energy drinks, we walk in with these and our Blackberries.
There we go.
So the clips that you hear, Christoph's on the ball.
Mike Gentili and Christoph Mamona, who essentially run the podcast. We just sit here. We're like their puppets. They are the masterminds of the podcast.
We just sit here, stroke our bellies, and drink drinks.
I stroke something else. My nuts.
Angry sex.
Stroking, but I can't find it through my forested pubes. Got a tweet from @DaveKO12. New TSN catch line. I think it's catchphrase, but he calls it a catch line.
That's okay. I know what he means.
New TSN catch line. Forest of pubes. Work it in this week? Hashtag gonna be huge. No
Why
problem.
not, eh?
I did it. It's already been worked in.
Why not, eh? Is still huge.
Yeah, people love Why Not, eh? And I got a nice tweet from a friend of ours, Steve Patterson, who hosts The Debaters on the CBC.
It's very funny. I always hear clips of it.
He's a funny guy. He loves SportsCenter. Big fan of SportsCenter. So hi, Steve. And he sent us this tweet. So I hope Christoph is ready for this, because Christoph is a fan of this song. And this is a good one. So Steve says, I think in honor of your mustache, you should open each podcast with Genesis's Illegal Alien as the soundtrack.
I'm a Genesis fan, but my go-to Genesis song is Land of Confusion.
Yeah, this is a little older. Yeah. Christoph loves it. Christoph would prefer just an hour of this. So there you go. By the way, tsn.ca/Movember if you'd like to donate to the cause. I'd like to get those numbers up a little bit. I feel like
I haven't looked.
It's you, me, and Gino. It's less than $1,000 or something right now.
It's pathetic.
It is pretty pathetic. So can you just go to tsn.ca/Movember for us and contribute, because we're going to give it all to a good cause, men's health, and we look pretty disgusting. Someone sent me another tweet tonight
You're
said,
creeping people out. That's why.
It said, it's this from @AndrewPotsky. I feel like you'd appreciate this. Don't take it as an insult. And then it's a link to Catch a Predator.
Well, we were talking about, we've talked about your mustache a lot. Our boss has told us not to talk about them anymore on the Sports Center program. But you came in on Monday, and I was astonished. I was taken aback, as was my brother Sean. So he and I had a BBM conversation. 99% of the world probably doesn't know what BBM means. It's the BlackBerry form of communication.
No, I think most people know what that is.
The new BlackBerry coming out in February?
Yeah, it should be just in time for everyone to have left the company.
So when do people buy Christmas presents? Probably February.
Should be good. Just in time for them to return it. Before you get into that, @Newfoundland Raider fan, WTF is that on your face? It looks like you have J.R. Ewing's eyebrows on your lip.
I don't agree with that. You broke away from our script. Remember the rehearsal?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
We rehearsed so long.
Stash, this is Sean O'Toole. Stash is coming in nice. Tell Jay his rocks. I don't even know what it could be called, but he's working that biatch. And then he says, potential names of Jay's Mo. Potato Farm, Bikers Gone Wild, Hair Farm, Serial Killer. And then he goes on a ramble.
Potato Farm?
I don't know. What were those bikes we had as kids with the banana seats? That should be the name of Jay's awesome Stashmeister. I think the bikes were scramblers. Jay's stash is a scrambler, and then he sent a picture of a CCM scrambler. And then my only response in the entire conversation, nice bike.
Yeah. How drunk was he when he sent you all that?
I have no idea. And now he's saying, well, if we had those bikes now, we'd be rich. I'm like, no,
you wouldn't.
I think
rich.
we bought them each for like $10,
and you'd sell them for $200 on eBay.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be rich. Here's one from @TCoop16. Did you glue pubic hair on your face?
Ugh.
I didn't, but it's getting to the point where I need to brush it.
Did I tell this story before? I think I told it when we hosted on TSN Radio once. The family, we went to church every Sunday when growing up.
A good Catholic family.
It was a very strange setup. My bedroom was off the washroom, so if someone was in the washroom, I couldn't get out of my room unless I walked through while they were bathing or doing other things.
Taking a dump?
Yes.
Taking a Hulk poo.
So it was 10 or 5 minutes to go before we had to leave. I'm like, I'm stuck in my room. People are showering. So I had to go real quick. And I'm like, I don't have time to shower. I just can wash my face. So I grabbed the towel there, the face cloth, and I washed my face. So get ready and hop into the car. 5-10 minutes into church, I'm like, what is that smell? And then I tried to smell my own face. So I put my lip up. My brother had washed his armpits with that washcloth that I washed my face with. So my face smelled like his armpit.
Oh, pit face O'Toole.
I told him this story 5 years ago because I just remembered it. I said, have you ever tried to smell your face? And then broke into that. He almost drove off the road laughing so hard.
Well, it
was disgusting.
But that's true. And so, you probably thought of that because when you kind of curl your top lip up, you can smell the mustache when it gets long enough. You start to smell it. And it doesn't smell that good.
No, mine smells fine. Do you not wash your face?
I really don't wash my face that much. Is that bad?
I don't know.
Well, I have to take the makeup off at the end of the day, the layers and layers of makeup.
Yeah, you have a lot of. Well, you had to usually cover up that beard. That's why you have so much. But now you can just let it come out.
Well, and so we got in trouble. I don't know if you saw we were on TSN radio with Gareth Wheeler yesterday, and I guess I said something like, "Spring, our makeup artist has to apply lots of makeup to make us look mediocre." Mm-hmm. So then someone heard this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And someone heard this and was like, "Oh, insult to Spring? Oh, I can't believe you insulted Spring like that." It's like, no, I'm saying we look so bad that she has to work hard just to make us look half decent.
People try to that's the problem with Twitter. And the Twitter voice came up. Mine was compared to a popular cartoon while growing up. My Pet Monster, my Twitter voice. Let's hear this. What are you talking about? It was the worst ever.
That was.
Hey, buddies! Guess what day today is? It's my birthday.
It's pretty similar. Do you have the My Pet Monster theme? You do? You remember this?
I don't remember that show at all. They ripped off the Addams Family.
No. Monster is a monster of a friend.
He's big and blue and scary, but a friendly monster too. My pet monster, I love you.
So the gist of it was the neighbor would always come over. He was a really creepy neighbor, like spying on these kids.
Pedophile.
So he'd always come over. He's like, "I saw a blue hen somewhere." So the monster would hide. So
Yeah, like Alf. It was just like Alf when the Ochmoneks would be next door, and they'd be like, "Hide in the kitchen. It's Mrs. Ochmonek." It's like, you can't hide in the kitchen the whole episode.
Was My Pet Monster Canadian? Let's check.
I have no clue about My Pet Monster.
And you also didn't. I brought it up the other day too. The Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. You never heard of that?
Never
either.
heard of that.
They played it
either.
on Global in like the 80s. Wait till your father gets. Wait till your father gets. Wait till your father gets home.
That was awful in every way. No, I think that must have been an Ontario thing, because I don't think we had that in Alberta. Well, I don't know. I hope all our Alberta listeners can tell us.
Speaking of Alberta, don't change the subject yet, because
Okay.
someone mentioned they found out I grew up on a farm, and like podcast number 1, we haven't heard anything about your upbringing.
Yeah, that's true. We have talked a lot about your upbringing. I try to hide my upbringing because I'm ashamed of myself.
Athabasca, Alberta, and you push drugs.
Yeah, my parents owned the drugstore in town. You know what I always lament? I'm glad you brought this up, because my parents owned the drugstore.
You can't. You mentioned this on the desk the other night.
What?
I know what you're going to say.
No, well, this is true. So, I literally grew up in a drugstore. Like, our first drugstore my parents owned in Boyle, Alberta, we lived in the back of the drugstore like an immigrant family. And so we were there, and we lived there, and then they bought a bigger drugstore, and we moved up. But my whole life, like when I go into a drugstore now, it smells like my childhood. That's that combination of over-the-counter drugs and feminine hygiene products takes me back in an olfactory way back to my childhood. But what I said to you the other day is, I was such a Boy Scout in high school that I didn't steal any of the drugs from my dad's dispensary. What was I thinking?
You can't do that. That'd be against the law.
He wouldn't have known if I swiped one. Christoph's laughing. He knows that I'm right. I should have been swiping even just a couple of juice drugs just to try.
They didn't have that then, though.
Yeah, that's true. I'm so old. They didn't have juice drugs.
I know what you're thinking. Because right now I'm thinking the same thing. Actually, I've been thinking it ever since I got here. Why, oh why didn't I take the blue pill?
So the point is, I missed out on some good quality experimentation growing up.
That's good. I'm glad you didn't do that.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. We should also mention.
Oh, we haven't mentioned our guests that are coming up.
Yes. Okay. So we've got 3 guests on the podcast today, Dan. You want to list them?
Kate McKenna, CFL Kate. We checked in with her podcast number 1. She was stuck on a train. She's still stuck on a train. So we'll see if she's ever going to get off it. Pat Thornton. I'm doing what you do on the show all the time, stifling a burp.
I know.
If you listen closely on SportsCenter, it happens 5 times a show where Onright's doing a highlight news. Hold it back.
Yeah.
So Pat Thornton's going to talk about, he's raising money. He's doing 24 hours of comedy.
24 hours of stand-up comedy. He alone, by himself, 24 hours of stand-up comedy. Now, it's a unique way of doing it. We're going to talk to Pat about that.
And he's addicted to Mario Lopez.
Well, he finds Mario Lopez, his tweets, he finds them fascinating. So we're going to delve into the world of Mario Lopez on Twitter.
And I can't wait for this. Jeremy Taggart from Our Lady Peace, the drummer, he's been there since practically day one with the band.
He was 17 years old when he joined that band. We're going to ask him about that, and we're going to talk. He loves sports, so we're going to ask him about the Blue Jays blockbuster trade, and he loves to play golf. We'll talk to him about golf and just what it's like being in a Canadian band these days. The music industry's changed almost as much as the sports broadcasting industry.
They were huge, like Superman's Dead, Navid. Massive.
They're a massive, massive band, and they're still touring. They're still recording. They had an album out in April called Curve. So we're going to talk to Jeremy about all that.
I wonder if there was because a lot of people, I'm probably not alone, would always get I Mother Earth and I Mother Earth and Our Lady Peace mixed up because they're both big at the same time.
And their bands had 3 words in their names.
Exactly.
So that was another reason.
Just wait, Christoph found that wait till your father gets home.
Here.
Let's see how close I was.
Oh, I like that.
I love my mom and dad and my brothers too, and the groovy way we get along.
Every time the slightest little thing goes wrong, Mom starts to sing this familiar song.
Wait till your father gets.
Wait till
your father gets. Wait
till your father gets home. So essentially, they're warning when Dad gets home, we're going to get beaten.
I wish I could find the person who wrote that song and punch them right in the nads. CFL Kate sent me a tweet this week. This is her. She says, "My mom's email to me, quote, if you're going back on Jay and Dan's podcast, check out Jay Onright's mustache. It's outrageous, Kate. Just outrageous." Kate,
outrageous.
What's the deal with your mom? Is she a regular viewer of the show?
I wouldn't describe her as a regular viewer, but she tunes in every once in a while. But actually, to add to that comment, so I spoke to her in person after that email. I said, "Mom, like Jay knows about that." I tweeted him, and she goes, "Well, did he design that himself?" She goes, "Dan's looks far more normal."
Yeah, everyone says it suits me, my mustache.
Dan is far more normal, Kate.
I didn't tell her that.
So, Kate, we haven't talked to you. We've seen you on the last 80 episodes of SportsCenter because you're doing the CFL Grey Cup train, the 100th Grey Cup train. Your journey ends soon.
It does. It ends on tomorrow. The train pulls into Toronto, and Saturday is sort of the last chance for people to check out the train. So Saturday is the last big hurrah, and then that's that.
Did you get via points? Are you a welcome guest whenever you want now?
I didn't, but I hope so. I should have pushed for that. I didn't, though.
No,
I guess I have 48 hours to figure that out.
That's right. You got 48 hours. Is this is this bittersweet for you? You're getting off the train soon.
Yeah, it's both. To be honest, I'm kind of ready to get off that train.
Yeah.
It's been incredible, but I'm looking forward to my own bed and some sturdy ground. But I think, give it a week or two, and I'll be looking back and thinking about how cool it was, because it was pretty ridiculous.
You'll be like, "Oh, brother, how art thou?" Is that the name of that movie?
Oh, brother, where art thou? Dad's amazing for pop culture trivia.
You'll be hopping onto trains. That's what I'm trying to imply.
But Kate, so take us through it now. Last time you were on, we asked you how often you actually had to sleep on the train. You said, well, not too often. Usually hotels. Now you've been through another month or so of this. Have you had to do some more nights on the train?
Only two total. So when I spoke to you, we'd slept once, and then more recently from Moncton to Quebec City, we were overnight. But other than that, it's been sort of long day trips and then check into a hotel and do it all over again the next day.
Okay,
we actually flew the Cup. So this was probably the coolest week of the tour. We took the Cup off the train and flew to places that aren't rail accessible. So we went out to St. John's, we went to Charlottetown, and we went to Iqaluit, which was the best.
Looked very cool. Kate, you have a unique distinction. I can't speak. You have a unique distinction. You were the first ever guest on the Jay and Dan podcast.
I know, and I hold that near and dear to my heart, and I can tell you, you have a lot of listeners, and you know why I know that is because of the number of times people have come up to me on the train and been like, Kate, I just want to tell you, you don't look a thing like Jodie Foster. So,
looking back on it,
listeners.
I have to agree on that. I don't think you look that much like Jodie Foster.
Well, thanks. I don't either. I never have. But who would admit to looking like a hooker? We went over this last time. Like, not me. But I will tell you, when I was in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, I think.
Swifty.
And I was having a conversation with this guy, and I thought it was going swimmingly until the end when he goes, great chat. Really nice meeting you, Sarah.
Oh.
He thought I was Orleski, for sure.
Sarah Orleski, TSN.
Like, I'm
sorry,
so
I don't mean to
personal
laugh.
you.
That happens to me all the time. People are always like, hey, O'Toole, great job. And I'm like, we don't look anything alike.
Kate, we're going to see you at the Grey Cup. Yeah, we still haven't even met you.
I know. Isn't that funny?
That is funny. So,
I hope I like you in person.
You
no
probably
chance.
won't. You probably won't like
We're
us,
both
Kate.
really creepy in person.
Yeah, and on TV, too, with this mustache. Now, is your mom coming to the Grey Cup?
Maybe. My mom actually used to be on television. Like, she anchored Olympics with Brian Williams. So
That's
she
right.
knows.
Well, tell us
knows
a bit
it.
about both your parents, because you come from a journalistic family.
I do. So my mom was on television, anchored news out in Windsor, and then moved into sports in Toronto. So she worked with Brian Williams, and actually won a Foster Hewitt. I brag about her because she's the coolest. But won a Foster Hewitt for sports broadcasting, and then actually worked for WTSN back when they tried out that digital channel. So she does that, and then my dad's at the Globe and Mail. He's a photo editor.
That's amazing.
Very cool.
So was this line of work always in the cards for you, or did you have that one rebellious moment where you're like, I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to be a hooker like Jodie Foster.
Well, I told them that. I broached that with them, and they turned that down right away.
Okay.
So decided against that, and then I always wanted to go into journalism, but they discouraged in the softest way possible. They're like, be a teacher. Be a teacher.
Or
There's
stable,
pay,
right?
There's schedule, right? So I went to teacher's college. So I have my teaching degree. Did that, but decided it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So, now that I'm in it, I think they're proud. But it's so funny because my mom, worked with your bosses / our bosses, Mark Milliere and company. So sometimes she'll just be like, Kate, just go talk to Mark about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, Mom, no, that's not the way it works. I can't just walk up to the bigwig's desk and talk to him.
Well, what about Brian? Well, you mentioned your mom worked with Brian. So has Brian offered you sage advice throughout your career so far?
He hasn't. I've actually yet to meet Brian. So I'm thinking maybe at some point during Grey Cup week, I'll go up and introduce myself.
Oh, I think you should definitely do that. Okay, we're going to let you go for now, but I'm looking forward to meeting you at Grey Cup week, Kate. And
absolutely.
And hopefully by then you'll have bathed. Will this be your first shower or bath since the tour began?
First bath, yeah. Not first shower.
Okay.
I shower once a week or so, but first bath, yeah, I haven't had a bath in a long time.
Well, you enjoy that, and thanks for being on the podcast again, and we'll check with you later.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Thanks, Kate. You can follow her at CFL Kate on Twitter. She probably has a stinky face then, too, if she's been on a train that long.
Stinky face.
Well, you said your face is stinky.
Yeah, literally the whiskers on my face smell like a dog's ass hair.
Since we were just talking about the CFL, it's Grey Cup week's coming up. We just had awesome Western semifinal. Still, people that don't like the CFL, we get it. You don't have to tell us every time we see you. Hey, get out of here. It's an awesome league. It's fun to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, Nickelback sucks. Yeah, we know. We know your opinion. Just shut it.
I don't like Chad Kruger. Are they even real athletes in the CFL?
Yeah, they're better than you idiot.
Yeah, they are better than you. They're better than me. And you, Dan. So, speaking of Twitter,
sorry,
our next
I am an
guest,
old man.
Our next guest has taken a special fascination in one man on Twitter who we've known. I mean, when you think of Mario Lopez,
We've known him a long time.
We have. We've known him as an actor and a performer and a host forever. Give him credit. But the guy we have on right now, he's a stand-up comedian. He starred in Hot Box, which I used to love on the Comedy Network.
That was wicked.
It was a great show. And now he is doing 24 hours of stand-up at the Comedy Bar on Bloor Street West in support of the Stephen Lewis Foundation, in support of fighting the spread of AIDS in Africa. What a great cause that is. Pat Thornton, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good. Now, when does this all begin for you?
8 o'clock tomorrow night until 8 o'clock Saturday night.
And now, first of all, how did you get the idea?
That'd be Friday night.
That's
Friday
right, Friday night.
Yeah, Friday.
To Saturday night, right.
Okay.
That's right. Friday night, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern, of course. So, Pat, tell us how you came up with the idea, or did you come up with the idea to do this 24 hours?
I sort of came up with the idea. This is my fourth time doing it. And the first time I was just like canvassed on the street by somebody who worked for the Stephen Lewis Foundation and who recognized me. And they were like, hey, we're doing this like a Dare to Remember campaign. Everyone's doing crazy dares. Do you want to do one? And I was like, yeah, I'll do one. And then they took my number and they kept calling me. And I was like, oh, geez, I have to do something. I got to do something. And I was drinking at a comedy bar with my buddy Gary, who owns Comedy Bar, and I was like, I want to do something crazy. What should I do? And he said, do 24 hours of stand-up. And I said, okay. And then I told everyone I was going to do it. So then I had to.
Yeah, so that's the problem when you tell people that you're actually going to do something, then you have to do it.
Now, there's no chance you have 24 hours of jokes in your repertoire, so do you just have to start carving people in the audience?
Yeah. I should be clear about that. It's called a stand-up set to just give context for people, but it's totally cheating. I have my comedian friends sitting in the audience, writing jokes for me the whole time, and I also have people submitting jokes on Twitter.
And the best thing is, and I showed up last year and I submitted some jokes and you actually used them. It's so fun because you have a giant bowl right in front of you on the stage, just filled with tiny little pieces of paper with jokes on them. So you just come in from the audience and plop them down and you take a look. And if you like it, you read it. And if you don't, you don't read it. It's great. And then you're also eating, Pat, you're trying to keep your strength up. So you're eating bowls of pasta through the entire thing. It's just a spectacle up there.
It's a real show. It's a real show that we do, yeah.
Pat, you sent out a tweet. You did the hashtag rejected Bond girls 2 weeks ago. I liked your one suggestion. So hashtag rejected Bond girls. Yours was big titties.
Yeah, she didn't make the cut.
She didn't quite make it. Now, speaking of Twitter, let's get into your Mario Lopez fascination. Take us, if you follow Pat on Twitter, Pat loves to retweet Mario Lopez's tweets. Where did you start to get the idea to do that, Pat?
Well, okay, for me, I'd like to say up front, I don't really have a problem, any kind of problem with Mario Lopez. I loved him on Saved by the Bell, and I'm excited that he still has a career, and that's all good. But for me, Twitter is like a different thing than Facebook, because most of the people I follow are like comedians or news people or something, and everyone is being like their most interesting most of the time. And he doesn't feel any pressure to do that at all. He doesn't care if he's interesting. It's just the same pick after pick after pick of celebrities in like the exact same pose. And it's just, I'm just really fascinated by it.
Well,
he's just sort of a shining example of the other side of it.
We came up with one way to kind of sexy up his tweets, and boy, you're in for a treat, right, Jay?
Oh yeah, Pat. What we did was we took 4 or 5 of the tweets that you had retweeted of Mario Lopez, and we had the voice of God at TSN, Rod Smith, voice them for us. So what we're going to do now, for your pleasure and for the listeners' pleasure as well, is we're going to have Rod read some of Mario Lopez's most recent tweets as retweeted by Pat Thornton.
Oh, this is so exciting.
Who is watching the great at Mario Lopez Extra on hashtag X Factor? Isn't he doing a great job? Aw, thanks, sweetie. Come to a taping at Eva Longoria.
Oh man, can we hear more?
Okay, here we go. We're
Fun
gonna get
show
some more.
tonight at the X Factor USA. Great all-round performances. Barely got the show done in time. Live shows are the best. At Maria Lopez Extra. At Khloe Kardashian asks, quick poll. Who do you think takes longer to get ready? Me or at Maria Lopez Extra? Hashtag 1 hour till X Factor. I take 20 minutes KO. Smiley face. At Maria Lopez Extra.
Wow, those are the most boring tweets in the history of Twitter.
Oh, wait, but it gets better.
Lost my phone. Worst feeling. And just found it. Best feeling ever. At Maria Lopez Extra.
One more.
Hardest thing in sports being a Chargers fan. Now I know how Chicago Cubs fans feel. Hashtag anxiety.
That's what they feel.
Hashtag anxiety.
Hey, Pat, is there a website people can donate at?
Yeah, we're sending everyone to our Tumblr account because we sort of have everything collected there. It's Pat's 24 Hours. That's just HRS. Pat's24hours.tumblr.com. And you can find the link to the donation page and everything on there.
Jay and I are going to stop by after the show on Friday.
Yes.
Awesome.
We're going to swing by, so we will. We'll see if we can get Rod Smith to come along, and maybe he can read some of the jokes out of the giant bowl on the stage.
That'd be great.
Pat, thanks for being on the show, and best of luck with the 24 hours. You're doing great work. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much. Talk to you guys soon.
See you, Pat.
That's Pat Thornton, a comedian who's doing 24 hours of stand-up comedy. Jay, we mentioned on the Sports Center this week, I had... It was the Mike Wallace one-handed catch during the Steelers Monday Nighter, and it inspired a top 10. I mentioned on the broadcast that we had a bunch of rejected intros by producer Tim. I kept them. These are the ones he would not let me read on air. One-hand it and then clutch it between the legs, a.k.a. producer Tim's go-to move.
He wouldn't let you use that?
No. One-hand it, then clutch it between the legs. Sounds like a Saturday night at On Rights.
That is actually true. I like the silence we're getting for these.
One-handed, then clutch it between the legs. A move usually reserved for your wedding night, on display in the Monday Nighter. None of those were allowed.
He would not allow any of those. In fact, you ended up going with something along the lines of...
Producer Tim rejected all of my intros. So here's the top 10. Producer Tim still to come in the show.
Yes, Producer Tim will be by, but right now we have our third guest on the show, and he is the drummer for Our Lady Peace. His name is Jeremy Taggart. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, fellas?
Good to see you. You don't live too far from the studios, do you?
No, I'm about 15 minutes up the old DVP.
The old Don Valley Park.
This
4 from where I am.
This is a new record. 3 guests on one podcast, I think.
That's true. No, we've had 3 guests before.
It is like speed dating.
Yeah, it is
Mike,
a little
our
bit.
producer.
It's a little bit like that. What's going on with you guys right now? You spent a whole summer of touring and touring and touring.
We did all the festival circuits that are available. And did a bunch of shows all over, and we actually, even went to the wonderful London right before the Olympics. To, do
what a great
Trafalgar
city!
Square show at Canada Day, which was pretty amazing.
Okay, that's where our broadcast site was.
Yeah,
Trafalgar
that was
Square.
unreal.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So Canada House is right there with the sort of the Canadian High Consulate. So what was the reaction like?
25,000 crazy Canadians and wannabe Canadians, which
That's
was
so fun.
pretty exciting. It was pretty cool to be in London and like see this mass of people and like people that were drinking beer and just pretending to be Canadian as much as they could.
We found out while we were in Trafalgar Square that you can't put porta potties in Trafalgar Square.
That's true, Jeremy. Like we had our broadcast site set up there.
I saw that, yeah.
And it was great. It was a beautiful broadcast site, nice background, had Big Ben in the background, but they didn't think to actually get toilets for us.
We had no toilets.
We had no toilets whatsoever. So
all day.
So we'd be
the British Open announcer. Apparently he doesn't go to the bathroom all morning and day and night.
But now, does he put like an adult diaper on?
No, he just has little sips of water. He lets it come out the pores. I'm not kidding. That, you know, the old announcer, like, on the tee, Tiger Woods. He's got that high voice.
Yeah.
And he just sips. You see, we can't do that.
You're crushing the energy drink.
We're drinking the energy drinks all day. So O'Toole literally would be, we'd be doing this 2-hour show, and O'Toole would be like, "Oh, I really gotta go. I really gotta pee."
You got to get your poker diapers.
Well, then we would have to get empty Starbucks cups, and Dan would fill them up with his hot urine as soon as all right, guys, that's a wrap. Where's the Starbucks cups?
Venti. Give me a venti over here.
Sorry, Sky Italia. I used their broadcast.
What do you give me talls for? I can't do 2 talls.
Well, that's the thing, and Dan's not joking. Literally, Sky Sports Italia was right next to us, but they showed up the first day of the games, and then they didn't show up for 2 weeks after that. We didn't know what happened. They just rented it. So Dan just left his urine-filled Starbucks ventis in the Sky Sports site.
Of them. I just used their facility as a facility.
Right, you just went in there. Wouldn't that have been great if like 12 Italian TV people just showed up just as you were relieving yourself?
Benvenuto in Sky, la televisione del futuro che ti farà scoprire un nuovo mondo di intrattenimento. Sky?
That's the Olympics.
The Olympics.
What the hell were you doing, though? Obviously, he was the only one.
I've got a weak bladder, I think.
I do too. I don't know what I did. I think
you might have let a couple go. Right?
I might have just peed.
I went to Boots. That's like their version of Shoppers Drug Mart, and I looked for adult diapers, but I guess they don't have incontinence over there.
They don't have any adult diapers.
They didn't have any.
It's called letting her rip. Just let her go, lad.
They're not as ashamed of it over there.
I guess.
You gotta go. That's okay.
If you gotta go, you go then.
That's Scottish.
Oh, that's right.
Close enough.
About that. It's close.
I'm sure they do it there too. They don't have diapers in Glasgow either.
So if you're going to London, bring some Depends.
That's right. That's right. If you have problems, make sure you're prepared.
I have to admit it's frustrating having a bladder control problem.
Because my real problem is finding the protection I need.
You need Depend for discreet, effective protection.
We're with Jeremy Taggart from Our Lady Peace. Someone mentioned to me about the rejoin or the reminder of who our guest is. They said it's a podcast. People know who the guests are because they're listening to it. It's not like they joined it halfway through.
Yeah,
so I said, screw off.
So why did you just remind our listeners that Jeremy's here then?
Because he's nice.
Yeah, that's true. You're a nice guy.
Because it's the radio.
It looks like this in here.
It's on the radio as well.
That's true. We are also on the radio. I should mention that. So Jeremy, you're a big sports fan. I know you're a huge Jays fan. The trade we presume, is going to be approved by Major League Baseball. I've never seen a trade that's taken so long to be approved by baseball.
Well, because it's so out of control. If you think about the actual talent that's getting bandied around and the loss of one team, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's the only consideration, obviously, he's thinking about are the fans and possible riots in Miami.
Well, and also that.
But no one cares about the team there. They didn't show up.
3,000 mad people.
They didn't show up. But Jose Reyes is apparently like in Dubai or something like that on vacation. That's the other thing, right? They got to get medicals. They got to get the physicals done. So they're like, hey, you're in Dubai. Can you hop into a free clinic there?
Yeah. Well,
get yourself
I'm sure he can, actually. He goes into the Keith Richards suite. the Lance Romance spin cycle suite.
I love
where
that
you spin and get spun your blood at the same time.
The Jays, there's a buzz about the Jays entering winter.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
It's a first.
I can't believe it, and I am so excited. I really, you know what? When have we ever had this kind of a move in history of we got lucky with what happened and how those teams were put together in the early 90s. Obviously, there were a lot of great players, but not. This is like a Boston or a New York type thing.
It is.
It happened kind of by accident in a sense, but it really is a pretty insane thing to think about.
Well, and you and I have talked about this. You are a really big baseball fan. I think maybe for people in the rest of the country where maybe the Jays have fallen off a bit in popularity, it hasn't happened in Toronto. Like, Toronto people are still craving that winning team here.
Well, and I think people forget that 22,000 people a game, 80 games a year, that's still a lot of people.
Yeah.
They don't. The funniest thing about the Major League Baseball is the actual gravy train that starts probably after 15,000 tickets are sold every game.
Right.
And they've been on that train for how long? I mean, these stadiums really don't need to be 40,000
The Jays used to draw over
No.
$4 million a year, right?
Yeah.
50,000 people every night.
That just shows the potential of how many people are that into it. But I think the way the prices are now, I don't think the volume is the same. I think if people would be so happy with a Camden type 30,000 seater,
absolutely.
and it'd be great. I don't think there would be ever an issue again of like people aren't going to Jays games.
Well, we talked to Dan Schulman on the podcast about it, and he said one of his favorite parks is PNC Park in Pittsburgh, and they built that deliberately smaller. They built it 35,000 seats. And
Darn, we're still getting, the merchandise is still flowing. Seriously, okay, the ballpark looks way cooler. Like, the only reason it was bigger was just so they could really grease everybody for that extra $1 in every little corner.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
over. That whole thing is over with.
I just want the Jays to be in also in contention, but a part of the picture when kids get out of school, because that's when you start getting the crowds. Because up until then, I don't even know.
But if you think of the 92,
hockey right now,
the early 90s, like people were going. This team on paper,
you couldn't get tickets.
This team already on paper, if you're not going, you don't like baseball, and there's no reason not to. And there's a lot of baseball fans that are here.
But we've also talked about the younger generation. They've never had a winner to cheer for, so they've lost a generation because they just never got into the game.
Well, that's true. I mean, they kind of have. It's not like the Leafs where it's ingrained into the whole GTA fabric, right? It's passed down. The Jays are a little bit different. I mean, and the other thing is, and I'd love to ask your opinion about this, like the next I'm always fascinated with the guys in our newsroom, right? And they're all hardcore sports fans. They're such huge Jays fans. But then I realize that's not kind of normal anymore for that next generation because they've got such a short attention span with Twitter and Facebook and everything. Do you think there's going to be another generation of baseball fans as hardcore as the one?
I think the way that actually in Toronto might be one of the leaders of the way that the team is on Twitter and I think because of Twitter, the Jays have definitely probably seen a fan base grow because
the players are all over Twitter.
Absolutely, and if you look at any trending topic whenever baseball is happening, baseball generally takes over just like NFL, just like basketball does, and you're starting to see when you have such an online situation where you can just all of a sudden push a button and everybody knows what's happening. That's what's happening, and that's how big it is, and it is a pretty much untappable thing. Like there's so many people that are ready to talk about a game or to have their opinion thrown out there.
Schulman, he said to get the younger generation intrigued and to hold their attention, he said the games just need to be quicker.
Yeah,
they need to be
speed up
2.5 hours. Because, like he said, if you're at a game and it's over 2.5 hours, you're like, what the hell? Did that just happen?
Well, any Red Sox-Yankees game you watch.
Horrible.
That could be a bad, just the way the managers have done it. But if you look at any really good pitcher, or really like a Holiday when he's really on, like the game's 2.5 hours. Like there's no fooling around. And that's
right.
Generally the playoffs slow down just because I don't think people ever complain about the playoffs, period. They're okay with it then.
It's when games start too late.
No, but when you're 3 weeks into the season and you see a manager going in to try and like slow the game down, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I can understand the idea of, picking it up just for it's the same with golf. Like golf wasn't never a 6-hour round in the Nicklaus days. It was literally, a little over 4.5 hours, and it's the idea of the numbers and knowing every little thing before you're about to hit has taken it so far back that 6 hours is normal, and that's totally insane.
And that's what happens. That's why I refuse to play golf.
And
on
no
weekends.
one wants to play golf anymore.
I don't play golf on weekends.
It's a whole day.
Yeah, because they want to play like the pros. They want to take their time and they want to have a look, and that's what's happening. People are sick and tired of playing 5.5-hour rounds at a nice golf course where they're spending $200.
Buddy, on the par 5, you don't have to wait till they get up the green. We've seen you the entire round. You've hit it 110.
Right. You're not going to reach them. You're not going to reach them out there, bud. Go ahead and drive it.
What an idiot.
Yes.
You golf a lot, eh?
I love golf. I'm a crazy golf freak.
So how did that start for you? Were you always a golfer, or was it off time with the band?
On tour, or just being bored all day. And I think the idea of being in a different city every single day and having all day until 5 o'clock to sound check, it's just the perfect thing to do if you're not doing drugs. And I wasn't doing drugs.
Did you ever hook up with Alice Cooper then? Because he's huge into golf.
He's huge into golf. I've never golfed with him, though. I kind of chirp him through friends, though, because I know he can't putt, and he says he's like a 5 handicap.
Yeah, he keeps saying that.
Total, not like, it's insane. He probably gives himself 10 footers, right?
It's like, what's
wrong with that?
Well, then if that's the case, I'm a +6.
I was gonna say, yeah, pick it up. It's you put it on the green, pick it up.
You got to putt the thing, man. It's part of the game.
That's the rules on sand greens in Alberta.
Yeah,
that's right.
You draw a little line and it goes right.
You create a moat. You create a little moat for yourself.
I've heard about those greens there. Everybody putts like Corey Pavin.
So we brought up Alice Cooper. Maybe back in the day he was a big party animal, but you've done the festival circuit and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you guys toured with a band where you're like, never again? They are insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, but I mean, when you see a band that's like really, people wouldn't know, and this isn't from a personal standpoint, but a friend of mine plays with Marilyn Manson, and like you ask like who really gets it going. That guy is the real absolute deal. Like there's no kidding around with Marilyn.
Really? I thought you were going to say like he reads books or
no,
something.
like he every night that guy goes to his hotel room
and
starts doing all kinds of crazy drugs and drinking, and then like every night smashes the living crap out of the place, and has the next day the tour manager has to spend $2,300 for damages every day.
And then, but it's like you said, you would never really know because his persona on stage is wild, but then
he's really like that. It's like, okay, I'm gonna cut myself tonight by myself for 7 hours and drink 10 bottles of JD and snort up half this table.
Wow.
And we're going to Boston tomorrow.
But then you listen.
Can we stay in a Holiday Inn? Is that okay, Marilyn? Do we have to stay at these double trees? You're killing us here because they got the 2 rooms. That's double the couches. You wouldn't break anymore if there was more than one.
Double trees.
He loves the little king suites, so he can break like 7 windows.
When in Boston, Marilyn Manson
Marilyn Manson
every night. Double trees.
And who else? Marilyn Manson, who else?
Like for crazy extended partying that's off the charts?
Yeah. You guys toured with the Perfect Circle way back when.
Yeah, but those guys are pretty serious. I think about most of the bands that partied really hard are kind of gone. Like they go away because like the band, like remember the Screaming Trees?
Oh yeah,
like, those guys,
those brothers, right?
And I remember seeing
what was their big hit song? Because it was
Nearly
huge.
Lost You.
Yes, nice. Yeah, no, they were a great band. I remember seeing Lollapalooza here in '94. I think when Soundgarden was headlining and Metallica was playing, and I was backstage and I was watching the Van. I think they were called the Van.
They were huge
Connor,
boys.
the Van Connor brothers.
That's right. They were big fat guys.
The one guy had been up since the night before partying because the Ramones were on that bill too, and they were got to hang out with them, and they were drinking all night. And this guy was still banged up at like 11 in the morning, and they were on at like 3 o'clock. And I'm like watching them, and they're about to go on. I'm like, how can this guy he's at this point, he's drinking to stay awake.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? Like, just because he's just like falling down, and then they go on, and of course they kick ass. They're a great band, but he literally like fell down once at the first song and kind of got up a bit, and then literally fell down again, like in the third. And by the 4th song, he was like on his back, just done.
That's like Joe Cocker.
Yeah,
That's what he used to be like.
You
right?
don't have a guitar player right now. I am partied out. But yeah, the Van Connor, I don't know which one it was, but boy, he could shake it.
Well, they used to fight all the time, I heard.
Yeah, well, because they were those guys were like hardcore, punk rock, real deal. Like they would, like if there's a problem, they probably just try to settle the score in the van,
But why do brothers, I mean, it's like, I guess it's because they feel they can fight, and then it's forgiven because you're brothers.
Yeah, well,
right?
we played with Van Halen for 3 months, but they were sober at the time. But they told us all the stories of how crazy things possibly, could have got. Like, for one example, the drum tech, back when they were partying, this is funny. Alex Van Halen's doing his drum solo, and he lights his gong on fire. This is the 1984 days. And his tech's, like, watching him, and he lights the gong on fire, and I guess he had some booze on his arm or something, and kind of starts, his arm catches on fire.
Oh, no.
And the drum tech's watching, and he's smoking a joint, and Alex is like, "Hey, man, help me, man!" He's like, "Looks great, man." That's what he says. Looks great. Like, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Like, help me. There's a fire extinguisher on the back of the drums for this.
My arm
And you
is on
think it's
fire.
funny that my arm's on fire because you're high.
That's why Dan needs to stop smoking all that weed before the show.
I don't. I just have eye problems. I have seriously dry eyes.
Dry eyes.
We do these close-up, updates for Movember, and we get right in on Dan's eyes, and they're bloodshot.
Could this be a pot calling the kettle black type deal here?
It could possibly be. But he looks like Be Real from Cypress Hill.
Is this the Corning going, hey, you're clear, man. You are a clear pot, and that's not cool. Hey, Crockpot, you're clear too, man.
I don't know what's happening right now.
Everybody's high.
Everyone listening to the podcast.
Hey, what's that guy in the parking lot with the dreads? Do you know him?
Listen, I swear we are 100% sober before every show.
What's
Not
up with the
necessarily
big
after
the RV with the Bob Marley playing?
We should have that. By the way, we should
Our
have
parking lot's
any
big
RV.
enough.
Yeah, way in the back. Don't bunk it.
No one would know.
Why are there 300,000 cars in your parking lot?
That's
by the way,
a great question by Jeremy. By the way, we literally have a football field of a parking lot out there.
I one time went to try and park actually not in the visitor. And I was like, it was like Woodstock, like trying to park at Woodstock.
And none of us can get
where are all these people? What the hell's going on?
And the thing is, they've moved everyone downtown. I don't know. There's barely any. It's just Dan and I are the only two people left up here.
We have no food to eat because the cafeteria is open from like 12 till 12:30.
Where are the other 299,000 people, man?
I don't know.
Like it looks like literally like a happening out there when you're parking your car. There's people going. It's like Yorkdale at shopping time.
It does seem like.
And we're at the mercy of the vending machines here. You put a $5 bill in the vending machines, it's
Gonzo.
Oh yeah, you're risking your life.
Marge, this may be hard to believe, but I'm trapped inside 2 vending machines.
Your life is on edge.
Say bye.
No, that's
to
a
Laurier.
huge gamble. That's a huge gamble because you don't know if you're getting 25 cents back or if you're getting $8 back. It's a crapshoot.
That's upsetting.
I just put
$8 back.
$5 into this machine and I got 8 back. CTV.
And the chocolate bars are $1.75.
They are?
I put $5 into this machine. I got a caramel and $8 back.
But everything, sorry, they're $1.65, and you need to put in exact change. So if you don't, they just take the change. Who has $1.65 on them? And you can't go to the cafeteria because it closed 8 hours ago.
How come I got a chocolate bar and an IOU from Lloyd Robertson came out?
Yeah.
It's a personal message
saying they're still paying me.
That's the kind of chocolate bar it was.
There's a phone number on the vending machine. So are you going to call someone about the 35 cents? No.
Hi there.
The biggest
your vending
scam.
machine just gave me $8. Should I keep it?
It's the biggest scam going. The vending machines.
Jeremy, this was fun. I don't know what the heck we ended up talking about.
One more question.
Oh, one more question?
When you hear or have to play.
Oh, yeah, Dan really wanted to talk to you.
Like Navid or Superman's, like your huge hits, or it comes on the radio, or are you like, enough already? You're like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
No, actually, because like a song like Navid, for example, like
I've been calling it Navid for.
Whatever, man, it's cool. If you knew a guy named
for
Navid
15 years.
You knew a guy named Navid. Some of his friends would call him Navid, and he'd be like, "Stop calling me that."
Exactly.
But I mean, I was 18 when I recorded that, so there's a huge element of memories for me as a kid, at that period. So when I play that and I see people having fun, it just I'm right there with them. You know what I mean? It's great.
My brother said to congratulate you on the start of that song because he loves it.
Nice.
Yeah, he
likes the coffee can on the overdubbed coffee can that I did.
Like you said, you were 18 when you did that. That's so amazing because now
freshly 18,
and you guys are still together. And the relationship between the four of you has obviously changed. Some of you have had kids and gone through marriages and all that. Are you closer now than you ever were, or has it gone through stages and phases throughout the life of the band?
I mean, by being a band now for almost 20 years, you go through a little bit of all of those things you said. You have good times, bad times, but I think by us always being pretty open to communication and being pretty level-headed and respectful to each other, that's maintained, this kind of I think there's a validity towards each other, and there's a respect that we have. And if that we didn't, we wouldn't do it. Just like if I didn't like to play drums, I didn't have any fun, I wouldn't do it, So it's the same thing.
Is Superman dead?
I'm the Rory McIlroy of drums. Don't forget it.
I never would.
You forgot my question got drowned out.
Sorry.
Andre told me to ask it. Is Superman dead?
Yes, big time.
Big time.
He's been frozen with Ted Williams.
Ted Williams' head.
That song is also
even if you pretend to be Superman, you might die. Don't fool around with that guy.
And when that song,
every actor who has done that guy is dead, except for the new guy.
The last Superman
and he
was horrible.
Terrible.
Maybe he got out of it, but I don't remember too many actors being great at Superman, other than Christopher Reeve.
Yeah,
maybe that's more because he died.
When the core.
That's because he's dead now.
When the chorus of Superman's Dead comes around, how can you not sing along in the car?
That's a good thing. Because everybody can do that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I sound like that in the shower, too.
I sound like my pet monster.
Hey, before we let you go, tell us about the gym. I'm so fascinated by this. First of all, you guys were so astute, real estate wise, when you were younger. You bought a rehearsal space. I'll let you tell the story.
A little rehearsal place at Bathurst in Wellington in the late '90s, back when that was like a rendering plant and everything reeked and there was nothing there. And we spent not that much money on it, and all of a sudden the area blew up. If you notice, we have the Thompson Kitty Corner. And
that's right.
There's $1 million condos, and we couldn't rehearse anymore. We had to stop playing at like 8:30. So we, instead of moving out and leasing it, we decided to open up a gym there, because there's yoga gym next door and a fencing place next door, and it just kind of makes sense for the area. So we made a place called Union Fitness, and it's basically 3 different methods. We have the bar method, we have the TRX, and we have the spin machine. So a little bit of everything for those fancy people downtown who want to shake it.
And no stick to the nuts like we saw on SportsCenter the other night.
What is that?
We saw a halftime show, an NBA halftime show, where a guy did a handstand, spread his legs, and another guy came by with a stick and smashed him right in the nads.
It's bizarre.
Like, you get $10 after or something?
No, that was part of their act.
Part of the show.
They were Shaylon monks or Shaylon.
Oh, and it doesn't hurt because they have penises made of bamboo.
That's exactly it.
They did training. They've got their button so hard.
That's what happens when you go to England and you don't pee for days on end.
When they kick a tree over and over and over and over, it starts to just go away. That
speaking of which,
turns into bamboo.
I gotta really go pee.
Are you saying we better wrap this up?
Well, we gotta anyway. We're past our time.
You're actually lowering. You're lowering right now. He's getting heavier.
Dad is falling down in his chair. His chair is sunken down.
Trying to position my body so there's less pressure on my bladder.
Jeepers.
Dan's full of nos right now.
Jeremy, thanks so much. And T, thanks for coming in, bud.
Thank you guys.
It was very cool of you coming.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
You guys rock.
Jeremy Taggart from Our Lady Peace.
At Taggart7, the Twitter handle.
Oh, yeah. You
don't forget
follow
that.
Jeremy. Hey, but before we let you go, do you see yourself because you love golf so much, you follow Norm Macdonald? Norm is just nonstop with his golf tweets.
I do, but I just don't trust his opinion as much. Because I know he's just like a funny guy talking about golf, as opposed to like a really knows what he's talking about golf. Who I follow so many real golfers. That
But he does it so serious. Like, you would expect him to joke a little bit, but he really does it seriously.
Yeah. So after a couple hours, it kind of gets old to me.
It does.
Because I'm like, okay, that sounds like as if he were a real analyst, but he's not.
He's probably
He could probably maybe break 100, I doubt. So what's up with that? Why would, sure, it's funny, but wait a second, it's not. Because he just said Rory hit it in the fairway.
He's probably not putting his 4-foot putts. He's not putting them down.
He may or may not be losing his mind, and everybody's just kind of going.
We all kind of are losing our mind.
I kind of worry about Norm.
Ask his brother.
Neil, right? Yeah, we should ask Neil about
Say, what's
that.
up with that?
He's one of our colleagues, right? We're all journalists, right, Dan?
I'm not.
He's a trusted authority that can say things worthy of note.
We will.
We are journalists. We're broadcasters.
Hey, speak for yourself.
We have to wrap things up. We have to still get to producer Tim.
Okay. Story time with producer Tim. Or are we going to do the 80s?
Oh, we haven't done
TV
our
theme
80s
ball?
TV.
Okay, let's do 80s TV theme ball.
How far over are we? Because our podcasts keep getting longer and longer. I look back.
People love it.
The first podcast was like 38 minutes. Now it's like well over an hour.
It's going to be 2 hours, and people are going to love every moment of it. Let's get into the 80s TV theme ball. And I see here that you have four girls and none of them attractive. We've already done Golden Girls.
Oh, what is it? Christoph? Oh, yeah.
What a great tune.
Take the good, you take the bad, you take the something, something, something.
It's like a bad version of Layla, if you notice it. Some of the changes, I'm not kidding. Like, let's take Layla, kind of.
Did Clapton write
this part here?
Listen to that bass.
Again,
did Alan Thicke not write this song?
Yeah, he did write that.
Yeah.
This is an Alan Thicke.
Facts of Life was on for 10 years, almost 10 years.
And Clooney was on it toward the end. Clooney was like a handyman who helped Mrs. Garrett with her plumbing.
And they had a character named Tootie.
Yeah. And one of them has, like, a disease right now, right? Or am I not?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's Tootie.
Yeah,
I think it is
Oh,
Tootie.
great.
Way to go, Dan.
Lisa or something from there.
Kim Fields, yeah.
No, she's got a disease.
Tootie's
Something's wrong with her.
That's our only TV theme of the week? We already had My Pet Monster.
Yeah, we did that one. We got to get into story time with producer Tim. First of all, producer Tim this week has, again, I realize we say this every week, but he was a miserable son of a last night.
Yeah. I'm glad we got through the entire podcast without even mentioning him because he doesn't deserve to be mentioned.
He was such a
Yeah.
I and I went into the control room. So, we do the show in the studio, and then there's the control room where our director and technical director and where producer Tim sits and would smoke 70 or 80 cigarettes a show if those laws would allow it. And I suggested that Dan and I come in and start doing the show from the control room once in a while.
Well, shoot an intro.
Yeah, just do an intro or two. Switch it up a little bit, switch it up. And Tim was like, we don't have the hookups for that. We don't have it. Well, you guys can't do that. It's going to take us all night to set it up. You'd have to hire an ENG camera to come in. You'd have to have lighting.
Instead of just saying, yeah. No, you just...
I was like, well, shoot it on our iPhones.
And I changed the script for the night the Blue Jays trade broke. I just changed a lot of things to like saying, okay, Jose Reyes, 4-time All-Star, Burley, 4-time All-Star, and a bunch of new information. And then he's like, did you read that before you went to air? I'm like, did you practice? Did you look at the viz? I'm like, no. He's like, you're 15 seconds off on Jeff Mathis. Was anyone at home saying, did anyone else see that?
Well, we are starting to get tweets from people where they're like, you guys are a little off on the highlights. It's like, do you watch us every night? You shouldn't watch us if you're looking for accuracy.
Off on the highlight.
We get the final score right most of the time.
As long as we wrap it up at the end in time, we're good. But maybe through the middle, we're going to take you on a little meandering trip. Enjoy the trip.
Okay, so producer Tim, story time with producer Tim. Let's
here we
have
go.
a listen.
Here's the latest edition.
Can you tell me a bedtime story?
I didn't have a Twitter account until the Vancouver Olympics. And for the first 3 months, it wasn't even me tweeting. It was Dan O'Toole and one of our production assistants, Angela. They were posing as me just as a social experiment. The end.
I think most of those tweets were, I gotta poop. Just went for a poop.
By the way, we got, we tried to get Hulk poo trending yesterday. Hashtag Hulk poo. Because you thought I had taken a A Hulk-sized poop.
I was so bored, I started having a Twitter conversation with Jay. He was literally 20 feet from me, and that annoyed Tim, too. He's like, you could just talk to him. I'm like, Tim, we're just... Oh.
But the point is, we didn't get Hulk poo trending.
No.
I was really upset about that.
All right. Oh, Mark of the Week.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Mark of the Week.
It's like a laundry list of stuff we have to go through now.
Maybe Jeremy can help me with the Mark of the Week.
Okay, Jeremy, what we do is, since it's the Mark's Perfectly Pressed podcast, brought to you by Mark's Perfectly Pressed shirts, which you should get some because they're great. I could see you hitting the drums and the Mark's Perfectly... Do you hit the drums or you play the drums?
Both.
Okay.
You hit the skins.
Depending on how I feel. Anything from hitting to finagling.
That's right. You get there
I'm
way.
great at finagling.
You are.
Everyone's got a
pretty good at
cash
that.
price. Every store has a cash price. Sorry. So since it's the Mark's...
Except for boots, if you're looking for Depends.
I didn't ask for the cash price.
What depends? What's that? What's that?
I don't know what that is.
What depends? What you saying, lad?
Depends on what?
Oh, and we have something else. I emailed Natasha Stanishevsky because remember we wanted a date update.
Oh, she went on it. We had her on the podcast last week, and then she was going on a date after the podcast.
Podcast number 8. We said maybe we'll get an update. She just sent me an email update. So we'll get to that after the Mark's.
Okay.
The Mark of the Week. We let a Plinko chip fall, and it falls on a certain mark that's famous, maybe sports, maybe music, maybe acting. And let's see who it is this week. You guys have to guess.
To protect my family, to protect me, I decided that I would take the hits. I think anybody's going to take the hits. I've been taking hits for 5 years. It doesn't feel very good.
Jeez. That was depressing.
That's awesome. I've heard that. What is that?
What is that?
I know that.
Can we hear that one more time, Christoph?
To protect my family, to protect me, I decided that I would take the hits. I think anybody's going to take the hits. I've been taking hits for 5 years. It doesn't feel very good.
Jeez. Is that Mark Paul Gosselar from Saved by the Bell?
No. Think of one of my favorite burgers.
Is this from a
Carl's
film?
Jr.?
In-N-Out Burger? Oh, it's John Goodman, isn't it?
No, it's Mark McGuire, Big Mac.
Oh, well, what's the difference? The same. John Goodman.
Big Mac.
So what's your record now? I think you're batting like 500.
I think I'm 500 now. Yeah.
I like John Goodman. It sounded like him to me.
It did sound
when he said the hits.
I got Mark Knopfler. I got Mark Knopfler last week, so I think I'm 500.
He's 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
Nice work, Christoph. Okay, so here's the Natasha Stanishevsky.
Okay, here's the update.
Seriously, we need to get lives. Okay, the date went really well. He was on time. Good start, because I hate when guys are late. It was just a fun night. Not all serious and formal and interview-ish, the way some dates are. We laughed a lot. Basically, it was a good enough time that we had a second date yesterday.
Oh.
Whoa.
That's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
That's fancy. That's someone's doing their job there.
Maybe they'll play this at their wedding, this podcast.
Just everyone sits around and listens to the podcast for an hour.
And then,
Why not, eh?
And then put on Layla. Just No, just the coda. Just the end.
With facts of life.
You got me on
Bleed it into facts of life.
And then Golden Girls.
Yeah, we played that last week, didn't we?
We played it a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it was fun.
Listen to the start of that.
Christoph.
Take it to 310. It really picks up at 310.
Can we compare
sit
that?
around for 3 minutes.
Can we compare that to the Facts of Life now, Christoph? Can you play that Facts of Life again?
The great Jim Gordon on the drums there.
Yeah.
No, the starting.
Yeah, absolutely identical. It's like Ray Parker Jr. and Huey Lewis in the News. There's going to be a lawsuit.
Maybe I was thinking Golden Girls. It's Golden Girls, man, and it's the coda, man. When Jim Gordon starts the piano part, that's
Chris
the Golden Girls.
Looking for Golden Girls. He's got it.
Please, you got it? Okay.
Okay.
So take us to the.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again.
We're going to finish off the podcast with this. Jeremy, thank you.
What was the Twitter handle again?
Taggart7.
At Taggart7.
CFL Kate, at CFL Kate. She was another guest. You can follow Jay or I. Jay's at Jay Onright. I'm at TSN O'Toole. And then it's at Jay and Dan.
At Jay and Dan TSN.
At Jay and Dan TSN. And don't forget to visit our Movember page.
Oh, yeah.
tsn.ca/Movember.
Yeah. Give us your money.
Yeah.
Give us your money. We're going to buy Depends for a whole bunch of people.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. And then enjoy the CFL.
Good job.
They're going home.
Dance. 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 Keep dancing.
Brought to you by Mark's Never Iron Perfect